Welcome to the EdUp curriculum. I am your host, Nicole Poff. I will give a disclaimer. I'm a little bit sick, so my voice sounds a little weird, but I really did not want to reschedule today's conversation because I've been so excited about it. And I just wanted to get it out there as quickly as possible. So, Scott, Leah, thank you guys both so much for joining me. Before we begin, could you guys just both give us a little introduction? Leah, do you want to go first? And then Scott, you can follow her.
Yeah, you bet. Hello, my name is Leah Sciabarrasi. I'm the Associate Dean of Business at Excelsior University.
Hi, Nicole. I'm Scott Dolan. I'm the Executive Dean of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences at Excelsior University, with oversight over our School of Business, our School of Technology, and Department of Liberal Arts, and very happy to be joining you today.
Awesome. Thank you guys both so much for being here. The reason you guys are here, I think it was Scott who shared a post about your Executive MBA program. And just a little bit that he shared, I was like, this is cool. And to be honest, it's kind of hard to impress me with an MBA program because everyone kind of always says that they have the best MBA, right? Like it's business deans and leaders all over the place are like, we have the best MBA. You really want to do our MBA. So it's kind of hard to impress me with an MBA. But what Scott shared was really cool, intrigued me. So, Leah, just to kind of set the stage, can you just tell us more about the Executive MBA program? Don't be modest.
Okay, well, thank you. We're super pumped about it too. So our Executive MBA program is, kind of a pivot point, I think, for Excelsior University. We rethought the way MBA should be done. And to your point, everybody thinks they have the best one. Everybody has some creative strategies. What we did is when it came to designing one, we took a step back. We really thought about what students need, what employers want, and we kind of started there with the data, which, may not necessarily be unique, but we then put kind of another layer on top of that. We rethought how exactly do you teach these skills and competencies that employers are looking for and that students are requesting and really think they need to move along in their careers. So, Excelsior is, generally known for its online delivery. So our MBA is very successful. It's been fully online for quite a few years. And we've tried to evolve it. We've tried to update it over the years, and this EMBA gave us a chance to do that once again as well. But with the EMBA, we knew that hybrid delivery would allow us to reach a whole new audience and to bring students and employers and faculty together in a way that we haven't been able to do before. So the Executive MBA program features 3 residencies, and these are going to be in 3 different locations across the US. And we'll be pulling in distinct characteristics from those locations in each one of those residencies, which, we could share a little bit more about later. But another kind of unique feature is that we knew students really learn in hands-on ways, and we use that word hands-on a lot, but there's also something about the multi-hour component of an immersive experience. And so we designed distinct immersive learning experiences that would really hone in on the skills and competencies students needed to know. And so besides taking a course and besides attending the residencies 3 times during the 1-year program of the EMBA, they'll also be completing a few immersive learning experiences each term. And they will be given real-world projects, and they'll be meeting with employers. They'll be touring our partnering organization facilities and companies, and they'll have a chance to pull in a lot of that learning into these projects. So besides doing the immersive learning experiences, they will be pulling out a project from each one of those and presenting it during week 8 of the term. So that's a little bit about it. And yeah, I think we've done something really thoughtful here and sort of started in the right place where we've rethought what exactly students need, what employers are looking for, and starting there with that.
Yeah, and one of the things I've really appreciated about the approach that Leah and team have been taking is that we looked at the market research, and we certainly see students, especially the graduate level, still choosing residential and hybrid programs. So at Excelsior, as Leah noted, we've been primarily asynchronous online. And as we move forward and think about the future of education, we're really thinking through how can we use technology to deliver the best of what all modalities can offer, but to continue to do that in a way that our students need, right? Access, affordability, and high quality. So, frankly, online enrollments in MBAs are growing. There's no doubt about it, but we do not have the resources of a lot of online giants. So we have to think through how do we be special and different, focus on quality, and deliver an experience that's transformative. Right? So there's no denying the importance of the asynchronous model still for our students who need that, balancing their work, their life, their family, their military obligations. But we see this as reaching a potentially new market. And rethinking maybe where the classroom is, right? The idea of a hybrid being, oh, you have to come to us still on campus, get together synchronously. Well, let's think about where the classroom can be in the places that we're located and use those places as a variable in the skills and competencies that we're going to be teaching our students. So, getting a little bit of that social element that people are really looking for with a graduate degree, and also bringing forward transformative experiences while they're together, right? Being really thoughtful about when you're together that's active learning, that you have a good reason to be there. You're focusing on things that are intrinsically social, intrinsically needing you to be synchronous when we're doing. So really thoughtful, intentional design that Leah and team have put in relative to what we were seeing in the market and relative to what we thought we could offer to a new segment of students and to students who might be looking for that from Excelsior.
I love it. I have so many questions. I mean, I could take this of so many different ways because I'm fascinated by the model. I did a professional development through our accreditor or through one accreditor, WASC, and we had 3 different location residencies, and they're just so invaluable. I mean, you couldn't replicate that online if you tried to. We did 3 different locations, just being in person with people, being able to go to dinner with them after and just talk about life in general and kind of spitball some ideas. You just can't replicate that like in a discussion forum, right? So the 3 locations, it's 3 different locations, 1-year program, 3 locations. Tell us about how you chose what what the 3 locations are, and then B, how did you choose those?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we strategically looked within our partners. So we have a very big strategy right now to partner and learn from other institutions, and also we have quite a few organizational partners as well. And where do we have those pockets where we could leverage our partners to help us to build these? So we settled on St. Pete, Tampa. We also settled on Albany, where we are. Excelsior is home based, and then we have Chicago as well. And each one of these locations allows us to pull in different themes from the program as well. So we've uniquely set up this really engaging conference-like experience. And you're right, Nicole, like you can definitely connect with people. And we're so excited that it's not just students connecting with each other, it's going to be students connecting with faculty members in a very different way. But also our organizational partners at each one of these locations are jazzed. They're super pumped about this idea because they have a chance to connect directly with students, bring students into their company, show them around, and they love, this idea of like, oh, we could totally speak to these themes. So I'll tell you a little bit more about the themes. So with Tampa St. Pete, we know we've had a lot of activity, a lot of climate activity going on there. And that particular area has had to respond in very different ways. So as you're a business or one of our academic partner institutions, you've had to figure out how do you adapt and how do you adjust. So corporate social responsibility was always going to be kind of our theme there, and looking at sustainability. But now even more so, how do we, really pull in these current events and how can our employers and how can our academic partners contribute to speaking about how they're adapting. So Tampa St. Pete has a very big sustainability and environmental conservation focus. We're going to be talking about also the community engagement and civic pride going on there, as well as the economic development and growth that's happening in that area. When we bring folks to Albany, that's our home. We want to be able to showcase that city. And we are kind of having a fusion of branding and marketing and also technology and intelligence. And so this sort of brand intelligence idea, how will our corporate or organizational partners be able to showcase that technology and innovation, talking about Albany as a global city, and also sustainability and urban resilience also happening there. So we're really pumped also for our students to be able to tour the city and to be able to tour the academic and the organizational partners that are happening there. When we come to Chicago, we are excited for that Chicago influence to also be a part of that residency. And so we're looking at entrepreneurial leadership in a complex world at that particular residency. And Chicago has a lot of different points of influence there. It's home to a lot of technology companies, and human-computer interaction is going to be one of the focal points of that theme. Also business and economic growth, as well as social equity and community development. So we're excited about each one of those locations and what they can bring and what students can take back to their organizations after they have those experiences.
Yeah, I mean, the work that the team has done, Leah leading it around connecting the thread of what resilient leadership looks like. From where I sit, when I look at the world around us, I'm a sociologist, so I try to think of things societally and what we need. We're living in interesting times, volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous, and leaders need to navigate those dynamic environments and to understand how their organizations are situated within adaptive systems and to move beyond their narrow orbit. So we're trying to get people out of their normal environments to see the business problems that they're working through together on site from a different lens and where place matters. So you've got, as Leah said, Tampa and St. Pete, which is a population growth area, but under tremendous threats around climate change. So what does it mean to be focused on growth and in a world where, we have to think through the challenges associated with what climate change might require, the adaptation and the sustainability components, where you have Chicago, which is one of the largest metropolitan areas in the world, yet stagnating in terms of growth, and a different kind of population starting to emerge within that city. And then you've got Albany, which is a Rust Belt city, experiencing some population decline, maybe a little bit of rebound, wholly dependent on government, educational institutions, and hospitals for its economy. Many of those organizations don't pay taxes. So what does a business attraction strategy look like there? And so how can students see these different problems where place is a component of the variable and start to address those with leaders from those communities based on projects that are going to be relevant to those communities that also enhance the kinds of skills that any leader needs thinking about moving from mid-career to executive leadership.
As you guys talk, just the intentionality here is so clear. You guys could have said, these are the skills and these are the locations, and then just mix and matched, right? You could have just said, we're going to do entrepreneurial here, we're going to do growth over here, and just plopped them in. But that's not the case. You guys really looked at location and what was relevant to the location, and then you carefully mapped the skills and experience that the students would be achieving. I mean, all I can think of is intentionality. There's just so much intentionality here behind what you guys have produced. So let's walk it back a little bit to kind of the inception of this, right? Like, this was a brainchild of someone's. How long did it tell us about that process of, this is how we conceptualize it, and here's kind of how we actually did the work, and here's how long it took, and it's ready to go now, right? You guys have your first cohort, still enrolling in your first cohort, ready to launch soon. But walk us through the process of standing this up.
Yeah, it's still ongoing, but it's been more than a year-long process to kind of get something like this off the ground. There are so many steps and stages, and there's so many people and bodies to coordinate with in order to make this work. There's the sort of the concept phase of, how are we even going to start a project like this? And to your points, really leveraging, we knew that we needed to look at those skills and competencies first. And so we leveraged like CAS data. If, folks haven't seen like CAS data, it helps us to separate those specialized skills, common skills and software skills. But there are even things that aren't found on job descriptions that we knew our students needed. And so we have, another set of a bucket of Excelsior skills that we call it, that we know are going to be coming down in the future, and just haven't hit the job descriptions yet, or that we know graduates need in order to be resilient leaders in this world. And so that was kind of a starting place. And you're right, there's a lot of mapping that takes place when you start to form those initial phases of what a program could look like. So you start to develop, brainstorm your program learning outcomes. You start to brainstorm what sorts of courses and what are the mixes of the topics that are going to go inside of each one. But then, as I mentioned before, we have this extra layer of immersive learning experiences. And so how are we, if your course is really where you're generally addressing these skills and competencies, what sorts of meaningful experiences are we going to give students to focus in groups and in collaboration with organizational partners on these skills? And so things like when we're talking about the immersives and we're looking at one of the workshops is corporate social responsibility, we bring in an expert who really knows that area. And for, 5 hours, students are going to be immersed in this topic. We're doing an organizational behavior field study. Students at the residency are going to tour one of our organizational partner locations, interview people, and then come back and do a field study on that particular organization. And then, all of these are sort of immersive learning experiences are connected to different courses in the program. So besides that, and then you start to work with the other units at the institution, trying to make something like this happen. How do you design a program this complex? And everything from how do our internal systems have to adapt to how do you actually design the courses? And of course, regulating bodies and putting together a proposal to NICEAD. But I'll throw it over to Scott because that there's so many components, and I'm getting a little bit in the weeds here.
No, I think it's perfect because I think it's not in the weeds. I think one of the early conversations we had was what's going on in our classroom. One of my favorite quotes from Vincent Tinto is which is sad. But this is, in one of his seminal works, the classroom is the most under-examined component of the work that we do within higher education. the classroom is the most under-examined component of the work that we do. And that's where all of the work is, right? That's why the students are coming to us. And I think while we've been primarily asynchronous and online, when we were thinking about what hybrid looks like, we were trying to think about, well, why would you bring people together synchronously? And I think all of us over the last few years have started to grapple with that question in our work environments as we become more and more distributed. What does it mean to be connected in person and together? And what does learning look like in environment? Learning is social. There's no doubt about it. And there are strengths of in-person components that we want to deliver on. Admittedly, those are often very difficult for our working adult populations. They're burdensome, right? They require you to be somewhere at a certain time, in a certain place, frequently, which is very difficult for our students. So how do we reshape that? And then when you're there, I think the bigger issue is when you're there, the teaching practices that are being implemented in the classroom are just not aligned. Often, I know there are pockets of excellence out there, but more often than not, they're not aligned with what we know are high impact best practices of what we should be doing. We're together, active, intrinsically social, working on dynamic questions, working on open-ended components, rolling up our sleeves, using the social element. I mean, I think one of the things we want to do when we bring people together too is that there's a social element of this too. Play, work hard, and play, right? So there's dinner, there's excursions. So these relationships are thoughtfully and intentionally, we're attempting to cultivate that because that capital is going to be really important, not only in the classroom, but beyond. And then I think the other piece of this is that this is part of a much larger strategy for us as an institution, as we're looking at how do we expand even more nationally using regional physical anchors, such that we can start to put a little bit of a foothold in these different areas and build community, especially as a lot of the things around us are showing that education is a mix between skill development, workforce preparation, and the durability of what a college degree can offer. And a lot of the needs on the workforce and the skills piece are really local and regional, right? So for us to be able to deliver for those communities, we have to understand them better. So we're located in these places, getting direct authorization to operate in Florida, pursuing the same thing in Illinois, so that we can learn better about how we as Excelsior can deliver more. And then the one other thing is that we're not trying to do this alone, as Leah talked about. We're really trying to build a constellation of partnerships with academic institutions, employers, nonprofit organizations within these communities, because resources are thin in a lot of the sector. Students are declining, right? With the demographic cliff is here. So how do we collaborate more with one another? There's no denying that there's been a role for online program managers to help organizations and institutions innovate. But we also think that there's just ways that we might align with one another, partner with one another to work on programming that's complementary, that meets the needs of the community and allows us to leverage shared resources and services all the way through. What does it mean to consolidate and to merge with organizations that we might? So we think that's the future, putting the student at the center, creating a constellation of different organizations and options that students might have, working through the back end around shared services to cut costs so that we can keep things affordable, but allowing students to make choices for them and not necessarily always trying to build everything on our own, but how do we collaborate to kind of transform education? And frankly, we're learning at Excelsior about what good hybrid and in-person is. We need to learn from organizations that are doing it really well already. So let's partner rather than trying to figure all these things out ourselves. So I think that's part of it as well. And that's been a long conversation that we've had over the last few years, and it's part of our vision for the future. We really think that there's something about creating a systems of education in partnership with other organizations, putting the student at the center and allowing them kind of outlining a pathway for them, but allowing them to choose different options that they have available, not just from Excelsior, but from the that we bring into the constellation.
I have so many things. I have so many things to say. I am like blown away by how evident it is that students are at the center of the work you guys are doing. You brought up Vincent Tinto and the classroom, and I, you know, loving curriculum will forever say stop sleeping on the classroom. Right? This is where the students interact. This is where they experience your institution, and their experiences there are how they share with the world, right? They have a good classroom experience. They refer their friends and family, and that's new enrollment for you guys. They are well prepared for the workforce. That's brand reputation, right? They're like, hey, who prepared you? You're a really great new hire. And it's, oh, Excelsior. So, I mean, you guys, we often live in our own little silos, right? Like academics and enrollment and student affairs. And it's so clear that you guys have just that higher level vision of how it's all connected. I'm curious if someone from a school is listening to this and they would want to partner, who do they reach out to? How do they even start that conversation?
I mean, it's an open conversation. We do have a dedicated position. You might have seen a recent Inside Higher Ed article with Craig Lunston, who is leading our transformational partnership strategy. For sure, our president, David Scable, is very open to conversations about how we might work together and collaborate. For sure, I as well. I think we're looking to solve problems for students in a new and different way, and to do it in using a different set of tactics and strategies. Uh, you know, for example, as we move forward, we don't currently have a sustainability program, but given where the world is, and what's happening with climate change, we see a whole new sector of the economy opening up around jobs and skills that are needed there. And we certainly could build that into ourselves, and we have elements that we're already building. But why not talk to other organizations who are doing this really, really well, who have learning laboratories based on their campuses that we could leverage with in-person experiences. So, I think other institutions probably think about we should have sustainability programming too, but think of all the investment that each institution is making into these different programs, when in reality, we're just trying to get these skills and competencies to students so they can get access to the jobs. So if we collaborated differently, we could keep costs lower, and we could get that programming out, and we could also leverage the wisdom of the different groups that are working on it to deliver really experience. So it's just a different way to think through. We're not going there. We want to work together, how we solve the problems for students and for society when it comes to things like climate change and sustainability. These are pressing, immediate issues that need attention. And sometimes even 120 credits is way too long for us to be talking about and getting to people out in the market thinking about creating solutions. So how do we do this differently? Where I do think micro-credential stackables and all those things are a component of the conversation, but what do we do in partnership with other organizations to stand up this kind of?
I love it. And what it sounds like is kind of you guys are really reimagining how higher education might look and could look, right? A student talks to an enrollment advisor, and oftentimes our enrollment advisors are really good at enrolling a student in their suite of programs, right? But not every school has all the programs. And so some of those conversations may not even have the student's best interest in mind, because the enrollment advisor is like, okay, we have 3 business programs, X, Y, and Z. Which one best aligns with what you want to do, right? But you're really talking about a partnership where someone might be able to say, hey, we have a partnership with Excelsior, and they have an executive MBA program where you go to 3 different locations, and that actually might prepare you better for the workforce. Just by expanding that opportunity. And like you said, Scott, I love the word choices and options for students, because very much we're limiting students to what we have within our institution, versus, encouraging them to pursue other schools. That's not the norm in higher ed right now, especially from an enrollment perspective. Is the goal is not to say, hey, look at our programs, but then go talk to all these others and come back to, it's pick one of these. And so you guys really this is different and this is really exciting.
I mean, I think it's connected back to how we were founded too. So don't get nervous about where I start, but we were founded in 1971 by the state of New York, and we had to solve the issue of more improving accessibility for working adult learners, and we created at the time state institution created degree programs with external faculty that had curriculum requirements, but we're offering no courses of our own, right? So we had advisors who were working with working adult students saying, go take courses at this institution, go take this high stakes performance examination. Here's how we might pull in credit for prior learning. We're going to help you package all of that together, and the Board of Regents is going to confer that degree for you. So from our onset, we were designed to solve the problem of how you get someone to the learning that they need in order to achieve the outcomes. Fast forward, we became a private nonprofit in the 90s. We started offering online courses of our own, but we've always been very, very flexible in terms of transfer credit for prior learning to help support students getting closer to the finish. So we see this as a next step in the evolution. Now the technology has come about that allows us to think through how we use technology to deliver these kinds of experiences in different ways, and then how do we use partnerships to give those students different options. The one great example within our School of Technology, we have an Associate Dean, Carrie Pryor, who has a long history in international education, and came to the table and said, "Hey, we've got an opportunity here to offer a study abroad program to our students in Rome, Italy." And internally, the question was, is this really for our students? They're so busy, they're military, they got a lot of work, they're single mothers. Like, who's going to take us up on this offer? Well, let's try. Let's pilot. Like, let's put it out there. Let's give this as an option. First info session we had 40 something students show up. We had a handful of students go through the experience. This summer we'll run a third iteration of it. And again, it's not necessarily for everyone. It might not be something everyone can take advantage of, but let's provide that option to our students. And it's just that commencement was one of our students who came up to Carrie and was crying. Just said, she said, "I want to thank you. I was in the military when I was 18. I was stationed in Rome. I was there for a number of years. This gave me an opportunity to go relive that most really important part of my life, but from a different lens." She talked about how she was a mentor to the other students who are taking part. Again, so it's just, how do we give students options that will help them meet their goals when they're pursuing their education? And I think piece that we often lose, I think, as we're trying to grow, is the transformative nature of what education can. Right, we change people's minds, change people's lives, inspire them to live different lives. Doesn't mean it doesn't mean skills aren't important, competencies are important. It's got to be both and. But there's something else that's bigger and more meaningful that we think education can work on.
I think you guys just have such a winning recipe. I really do. I hope that leadership listening to this call is taking notes, right? Like, we very much are living in this world of kind of reactive approaches. In higher education, what is the phrase? The fire closest to your feet is, what your fire closest to your feet, right? But you guys, it sounds like, really have stepped out in front of that to develop some good strategy, always with the student in mind. It's so evident here. And I think the strategies that you guys are deploying and keeping kind of at the heart of it are so far away from what other institutions are doing that I don't see how you guys don't win in this. I think Excelsior for sure is a university I'm going to keep my eyes on, because I just think it's all up from here. You guys just, it sounds like, really have it. So Leah, let's kind of go back to the EMBA real quick. Let's talk about the curriculum and just kind of, what types of a student I know we talked about some hands-on learning, partnering with employers, but in terms of outside of those residencies, what types of things would students be producing for, let's say, homework or discussions? What does that kind of look like?
Yeah. So we took a step back and we also rethought the way online education could be delivered in the virtual space. So when we talk about a hybrid program, we have those two components. We have to design for the residency and the in-person interaction and those components. But we also have to maybe rethink when students come back to their homes and now they're going to engage in the virtual space. How can we rethink how that's done? So online education, um, doesn't feel so flat or so isolated sometimes. What could we do in that space? So we creatively kind of reimagined, how to deliver it online. And we backed up and we said, okay, let's start at the front. So for students, before they even get into their classes, are there things they may need to know before they engage in a course like strategic brand marketing? Are they going to need to know marketing foundations? Are they going to need to know branding foundations? And so we said, okay, there's sort of this foundational knowledge in every course that a student, you know, should have to engage in before they start on the course content. And what we uniquely did is we kind of created this a skill source space, and we're housing it outside of courses, but the students can go in there and they can learn these foundational pieces of knowledge before they go into a course. Another thing we thought hard about is when we think about assignments and we think about discussion forums, what are more meaningful ways we can engage in not just the topics, but, you know, the real world aspects of the topics we're talking about, that praxis. And so we have focused more on case studies, and we focused a lot more on what we call mock experiences. So you have these two components of with a topic where this is what, this is how the theories and this is how the knowledge happens in the real world. So here's a real world challenge or real world scenario where we're studying, an organization or several organizations in a course that have been through this challenge. And then in every challenge, you have different shoes that play a role in that challenge, right? There's something like a project management course, and it's not just assuming the role as a project manager, but being able to see it from other vantage points, whether it's IT or whether it's HR or whether it's finance. So what are all the other vantage points and shoes that students can wear in a scenario, in a mock experience, in order to see another challenge from that vantage point? So that's how we've just sort of uniquely constructed these case studies and mock experiences. We also rethought assessment. And so this is another component that, is, when we think of online education, we think, oh, students submit assignments or they might post, and then respond. And then that's really the grading and they might have a project that they're working on. But we're forever competing with advancing technology and AI. And so we are trying to adapt ourselves. And we've come back a little bit where, maybe we're looking at verbal competency sessions where students get a prompt midway through the course, and then they have a week to prepare for it. And they're going to be able to speak to in their own language and in their own way and authentically speak to everything that they learned to answer that prompt. That's from the immersive learning experiences that they partook in when they were at the residency. That's in the course content, the mock experiences, and the case studies. And then they'll be delivered 3 questions on the spot from the faculty member. They have a chance to prepare, deliver it verbally, and what does this also help to build? But the presentation skills and being able to compose, really thoughtful response and staying concise in that response and in that answer. So we know there are all sorts of soft skills that this is addressing as well, and those mock experiences and case studies are addressing as well. And then the final layer is that how can we bring all of our students together in the School of Business and all of the courses? And so we started something called Presentation Symposium. Students will be able to, the last week, and because we have 8-week courses, in the last week, they come together in a conference style format and they present one of their projects from the immersive learning experience that they've been working on for the entire term. And they not only have a chance to do that and then see the other students in their course present, but they also have a chance to pop into other sessions and see the other presentations. So we're excited for those spontaneous collisions that would happen in that sort of format as well. Yeah, so that's a little bit about how we sort of rethought the way that the online component can be designed, and really working very closely with our instructional design team to also visualize this idea, because we can talk about it all we want. We could put it in writing and on paper, but until it's visualized in the learning management system, it's not like a reality. So we just, have been working through those pieces. Things look super beautiful, like in the navigation, and really thinking about student navigation, thinking about student user experience when they get into the learning management system, that they have a great introduction to the topic of the course. They also know where to go when they're in there, and they know what to click on, and they have access to all of the tools they're going to need in order to, get to their presentation symposium or schedule a meeting with the faculty member for the verbal competency sessions. Yeah, so we're excited about the design piece and the design side too.
I love the verbal competency sessions because, as an executive, there is a real human element, being able to think on your feet and think organically, and also be able to communicate to what you're being. So, Leah and team have just done an excellent job and be really thoughtful about what that looks like in a world where we need to use technology like AI, but we also need to understand what's essentially human and what are those durable skills that we're going to bring forward as executives. So, of which communication is a key part.
I think all of that is brilliant. And the assessment piece, I kind of saw Scott perk up a little bit when you talked about assessment, and I did too, because that's just such a good approach. You can't really fake it if you have to verbally present on it. And when students are in interviews, they don't get to say, let me go back to my computer real quick, make a PowerPoint, and I'll bring it back to you, in a couple of hours. They have to, on the fly, be able to demonstrate their knowledge. So beyond just having students demonstrate their knowledge of the course, you guys are preparing them for that real world, again, right? You guys are preparing them for that real world experience they're going to face, where they need to be able to answer things on the fly without being able, without going back to their computer to write a paper. I could talk forever about this. We are going to start wrapping up just for the sake of time, but any last thoughts? You guys have shared so much about this program. Is there anything that we really just didn't cover yet that's an important part of the EMBA or Excelsior?
I would say that, we have pointed out that the program is really designed for the student. And we thought about how do we bring students together in a way that's very unique, but also very beneficial to them. And we know that, there's something about this mix of being in person and also having the flexibility of online that, that makes this program so special. And students are going to be able to not only get to meet each other, meet their faculty members, and really leverage the opportunity of networking and adding on to their network. But we've also focused on the marketability piece on their end. And so what's going to make them really marketable candidates, either within their own organization or when they hit the job market. And so thinking about what sorts of skills and competencies that are really going to jazz up an employer, because we know we've been looking at the descriptions, and how can we prepare our students to speak to those skills, competencies, and also through projects that they've worked on, that they do know about Kaizen, they do know about constant improvement within an organization, they do know about compliance audit and conducting an investigation, because they've been through these experiences as part of their immersive learning experiences. And that also, when they meet with an employer, they're able to speak to all of these components as well. So we're, just really excited for what the graduates are going to walk away with, the kinds of experiences they will have, but also what's going to make them really valuable candidates in the job market as well.
Yeah, and when we looked at the competitive analysis, these sort of transformative types of executive MBA programs are often prohibitive to a certain segment of the students that we'd like to serve, right? So they're not accessible, either because of admissions requirements or affordability. If you look at other institutions, this program is probably 1/5 of the cost. And don't quote me on the cost of attendance, but it's about, with travel, it's about $40,000. The tuition is $907 a credit. It's a premium price relative to our MBA, but way more affordable than some of the other options, and open to students who are willing to apply with the 5 years experience that we're looking for. The other cool thing, I think, is that it's designed to be completed. So affordable, and getting at that time to completion piece that we know our students want and need in a world that's changing so dynamically, and where credential can be to advancement in folks' careers. The only thing I'll say is that we do have an information session coming up on November 12th. So we'd love for anybody who'd be interested in joining to learn more about that to come join us. And we'll be sure to make sure you follow us on LinkedIn and other social media platforms and get all the information out.
I hope you guys feel proud of this. This is really cool. And if I was an employer and I had, that employer partnership dollar to spend, this is how I would want my employees to go. I would feel very good if my employees went this direction. And I hope other employers feel that way. I know I fangirled a little bit today, but I am so excited for you guys. And I thank you for taking the time to come and chat. I just can't wait to see your guys' growth. I really do think you guys have this so right on with the students at the center. It's clear with every decision you've made throughout, the design and the implementation of this program, and just your overall strategy that Scott talked about. It's so clear that students are just at the absolute center, and I can't wait to see you guys just continue to grow. So thank you guys both for being here.
Thank you so much.